Tape for this one then. Guess who has the age advantage here? Bugner's still a big man, 6'4" and weighing 18 stone 10 for this one, as against 16.6 for the youngster Welch. Small reach advantage as well for Bugner. Experience tells a different story. Joe Bugner's had a total of 76 professional bouts. Scott Welch still a baby, really, by comparison, with just 18. 517 rounds boxed by Bugner to 73 for Welch. Welch has a high knockout percentage. Will he do it again tonight? Commentary in the Deutschlandhalle comes from Nicky Piper and Steve Holdsworth.
Here. So round one then. Scott Welch with the Union Jack on the left leg against the former undefeated British, European and Commonwealth heavyweight champion, Joe Bugner.
Well, this is what you'll expect through this fight now. When he gets close, Joe will tie up Scott Welch and try and out-jab him and outbox him from a distance. But Joe will have felt Scott's power there.
Yes, Welch certainly an intimidating puncher at domestic level. Of course, there's a bit of doubt about how far he can actually go on the world stage, well, but this is a good stepping stone, isn't it?
Yeah, he's still a novice, and this is a good scalp for him, if he can indeed take that scalp, and a good learning fight.
Oh, nice left hook there from Welch, catching Bugner with his head high.
Bugner trying to impose his strength, sheer size on Welch, leaning on old tactics.
Yes, he's about 18 stone for this one, I think, Nicky. And that's a couple of stones heavier, of course, than Welch.
Yeah, he's still a big man. Pleased to see Welch is not rushing in and trying to get this job done very quickly. Because Joe, with 18 stones behind his punches, can still whack a bit.
And of course, at the press conference, Joe was talking a great fight. But then again, I can hear people say he always did.
Well, this is not going to be a pretty fight tonight, I don't think, but it's going to be very interesting.
It's worth noting that Welch's only genuine defeat was when he fought James Oyabola, and he was knocked out in 5 rounds in Atlantic City for the WBC International Heavyweight Championship. And the only other loss was a cut-eye defeat to Gary Charlton. So there's a chance that 18 stone behind a right hand, Nicky, could make a big difference here. But Welch scored there with a right.
Was a good right hand. Of course, though, he's given evidence of the improvements in him. Of course, with that revenge win over James Oyabola to win the British and Commonwealth titles. He knocked out Oyabola in a great fight in Brighton, so he is improving.
Well, Joe Bugner taking this opening round to take a look at Scott Welch. Feels that Welch doesn't really deserve to share the ring with him. But so far, Welch is winning this opening round, I think, Nick.
Yes, he's landed the only telling punches.
The last few seconds, then, of round one. And it looks like this opener is going to go to the champion. Round two, then. Scott Welch making the first defence of his WBO Intercontinental Championship against the old warhorse, Joe Bugner.
Well, that's worrying for Bugner there. He got caught with a good right hand, and Welch seems to be getting closer than I thought he would at this stage of the fight.
Yes, Scott's been very cool and calm throughout the preparation for this one. And in fact, he's very confident of victory here tonight.
Right hand just grazed the temple of Joe Bugner.
And it looks like there's a little mouse appearing already on the left eye of Joe Bugner. That's, of course, a blemish in the corner. And it's more likely, of course, Nicky, that Bugner's going to win this one earlier rather than later, wouldn't you think?
Well, I originally thought the only way Bugner would win this, to be honest with you, is on points by outfoxing the novice, really, Scott Welch. But it looks to be he's not going to do that. He's not outboxing Welch at the moment, and I'm starting to think that yes, a puncher's chance is all he has in this fight, as it's going at the moment. But it's surprising how, when you're as experienced as Joe Bugner, you don't need the fitness to get you through 12 rounds, and he may still be strong towards the latter half of the fight, and Welch may tire, and then the jab may start taking over. So it's not to say that it's all looking downhill with Joe Bugner so far. He's getting caught with a jab and a few right hands, and he is being outboxed these early rounds.
Of course, there's no hope that we can, there's no chance that we can hope he'll regain some of the form of 1973, of course, which saw him in his best ever performance against Joe Frazier at the Earls Court in London. He lost that one on points over 10 rounds. Got off the floor, I think, in round 2 from a right hand. Those days are well behind him, aren't they?
Oh, certainly are, yes. You can see the reflexes are nowhere near what they used to be.
Of course, British fight fans have really soured against Bugner over the last 25 years, always feeling he had the ability, but always failed to use it.
Yes, always accused of being too negative.
Oh, nice
good
shot
right hand by Welch. And these are the tactics that, as you say, that have caused all the criticism over the years of Joe Bugner. The holding inside. Spoiler, really. Another round for the champion, eh?
And of course, no one likes to criticise an icon, if you like Joe Bugner, when he goes about his business. But he needs to liven up, Nicky, doesn't he?
Well, he does need to liven up, but this has always been the problem with Joe Bugner. I mean, he was once heavily criticised. A good right hand there. Bugner's calling Welch in.
Bugner boxing on memory. He knows what he wants to do,
yes,
and
does.
Once knew how to do it.
Well, he was always criticised for being negative, wasn't he? And once after being heavily criticised with the press at one press conference, he was goaded into saying, you know, bring on Jesus Christ, I'll fight him. And it was Hugh McIlvaine, he said, yeah, yes, Joe, but you know he's got bad hands. You know? So
excellent.
He's always been criticised heavily.
But he does take his criticism extremely well. I mean, you would say, well, he would do, wouldn't he? He's used to it, but no, he does take it right with good humour these days, for sure. And of course, he's made it quite clear he has no love at all for Mike Tyson. Not that he'd ever get the chance to put Tyson in his place, of course, but would dearly love a rematch with Frank Bruno, feeling he was mugged by Bruno at White Hart Lane.
And he thinks Bruno has a chance tonight too, so
he certainly does.
Scott Welch boxing quite intelligently there. He's feinting with the left jab and then throwing the right hand over.
Well, I think you can count the amount of decent punches Joe's landed so far on one finger. Although I'm at pains to remember which finger that would be.
You can see the concentration in Bugner's eyes, though.
Yes, that's memory overload, I think. Some people put his 1969 points win over Ulrich Regis down to the reason that Joe pulled his punches thereafter. Sadly, Regis died after the fight. And a lot of people felt that was a turning point in Bugner's professional career.
Didn't have that killer instinct, you mean?
Yeah, not that it's a term that, you know, we like to bandy about loosely, of course, but he just seemed to lack that snap, didn't he?
Yes. Well, I think that's more to do with his mental attitude than not, and I don't think it was caused through that, to be quite honest. I think Joe was always that way.
Yes, the family, of course, came to Britain after the Hungarian uprisings in 1956.
To see the ring return of the Prince Nassim Hamed. He defends his WBO World Featherweight title for the first time tonight. And here he is arriving at the Scottish Exhibition Centre. He's had to wait to return to the big stage after injury, but he's keen to get it on tonight. More on that later. Back now to Berlin. More of Welch against Bugner, and we join it in round 4.
Into round 4 then of the scheduled 12-rounder. And Scott Welch, of course, has an interest. He owns care homes, and I remember at the press conference that Scott Welch said, "I've got a bed waiting for you, Joe." And Joe Bugner said, "Scott, you may be serving me tea one day, but not this year." Well, could this be a more positive approach to this round then from Joe Bugner?
Yeah, the ref warning him hitting to the back of the head.
Here's referee Gennaro Rodriguez from the USA.
That's good work, head and body from Scott Welch, varying the punches.
Although we may have criticised Bugner's attitude over the years, he's a nice guy, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah, you can't dislike the man, can you, when you get to know him?
Well, Bugner needs to land that once famed straight left, keep pumping it out, keep Scott Welch on the end of it, drop the odd right crossover. Would you agree with that?
Well, of course, but he's just not throwing anything at all. He's just waiting for Scott Welch to come in and then tying him up. I mean, that jab there, look, he's not even aiming at Scott Welch's head. He's aiming just to hit his gloves and keep him off balance. There's not any aggression or attack in his punches at the moment. My father always used to say that Joe Bugner wouldn't fight until he was hurt, and then he'd get angry. And I think he may be right watching him tonight for the first time live. He is just not throwing to hurt his opponent.
Yes, I've heard that said as well. I think ample evidence of that so far. As we approach the halfway point in round 4, Welch there warned once again. A little slap behind the back of the head.
Well, it was actually Bugner warned the first time, so it's, that's all even now.
Joe's been very happy, of course, with his preparation for this match, but rumours are that he's neglected his sparring this last couple of weeks.
Well, I know you made the point of asking him in the change rooms beforehand, and of course he said he'd been sparring quite well back in Australia.
But there's no substitute, is there, for match
There's
fitness?
not, and there's no proof at the moment that he's been sparring a lot, to be honest with you. Well, I mean, Joe, maybe you think that's another round for Welch, in my opinion.
To round 5, then, of this scheduled 12-rounder for Scott Welch's WBO Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. And I've always wondered what quite that is, Nicky.
I'm lost. It's a secondary world title, you know, it's been created for television, etc. But that was a good left hook from Scott Welch, feinting the jab and coming in with the left hook. He's boxing very clever tonight.
Yes, this is obviously Scott Welch's coming-of-age party, and he knows the name of Joe Bugner on the slate is well worth having. And let's remember that Bugner's had 76 professional contests. He's only lost 12. And that's some record. For Ali twice, of course.
Yeah.
Ernie Shea was a thunderous puncher.
And went the distance with a lot of them, you know, so...
Never forgiven, though, for beating Henry Cooper, was he?
Never at all.
But you found it was a fair decision?
I felt at the time it was a fair decision. I've only seen it once on tape, and that's hard to judge. Very, very close. I wouldn't like to say either way. But I don't think that it was the bad decision everyone was making out.
Of course, the toughest fight that Bugner claims was against that monstrous Ron Lyle, who on his day could fight.
Could well fight, yes, yeah. Here we see again Bugner tying Welch up. just clinging onto him, and the referee really should be breaking them up.
Well, Bugner there landed a punch in anger, a little left hook.
Well, we don't know. He may have tactics in mind. He may be saving himself for the second half of the fight. We may start seeing him unload then.
Well, if he has saved his effort for the last half of the fight, the tactics are working perfectly, aren't they? Because he's doing nothing in the first half.
That's right.
Oh, lovely left hook again from Welch there. Took a slight one from Bugner.
Yep.
Oh, good body shot. He didn't like that. Oh, and there's a cut now on the left cheek of Joe Bugner. Courtesy of that hook from Welch just a moment ago.
Well, that won't cause him any danger. It's right on the cheek. It's only a small cut and will not get in the way of his vision.
But psychologically damaging, isn't it?
Well, I don't think so for a man of Joe's experience personally. But it certainly is a boost for a man like Scott Welch. He'll draw encouragement from that. But I am surprised. I'll say it again, he's boxing very cleverly tonight.
Last few seconds then of another round for Scott Welch. Good finish as well. So Scott Welch going very lively for this sixth round. He wants to get this one over with now. And of course that's possibly the time when Bugner might just get lucky.
Oh, Welch just missed the left hook there. And it could well be, you're right, he may get angry and start firing back. He's saved a lot, or he hasn't used much, put it that way, so he should have some energy. But I think Welch is feeling very fit going into this sixth round and thinking, well, for another 7 rounds I can certainly pile on the pressure and maybe wear Joe Bugner out.
Now, when we spoke to Joe in the dressing room earlier, he had no plans, of course, of facing either Frank Bruno or Mike Tyson. Should he succeed here, but wouldn't mind a shot at old George Foreman. Of course, both men are a combined age of almost 100.
Yeah.
Nice
good right
shot.
hand.
Gone over. So, Joe Bugner on the floor in round 6. There's about a minute and a half of the round
gone. He's not
gone.
going to get up.
He's in a bad way. I don't think he's going to beat the count, Nicky.
No.
Up at 9.5. Faces the referee. Well, the referee very slow count.
Surely can't let that go on.
Walk towards me, he says to Joe Bugner. Joe does. Is he going to stop it? Well, he's given him every opportunity to recover.
Well, shouldn't get through this now.
Well, if I were Scott Welch, I'd be quite annoyed at that big gap that Bugner had. But now Welch teeing off. Can he finish it here in round 6? Oh, and again, a big shot there from Welch. Those big punches, it's all over now. So the towel comes flying in the ring just as Joe Bugner's rescued by referee Gennaro Rodriguez. So Scott Welch retains his championship in 6 rounds. Well, Nicky, how would you describe the rounds?
Well, very, very quiet rounds. I've just got to say that is the most pathetic refereeing I think I've seen in my life. There was no way Bugner was going to get through that and should clearly have been stopped. I didn't even think he got up inside 10 seconds. Absolutely crazy. I mean, you've got to hand it to Scott Welch. He surprised a lot of people tonight. He boxed so cleverly. And here we see the action.
Here we go.
Was this the end after the knockdown? Or was this the right hand coming through?
This was the end after the knockdown. You're absolutely right, Nicky.
Oh,
and
yeah,
really getting through some thumping punches there. Good performance by Scott Welch. Clever boxing performance too, wasn't it?
Absolutely tremendous. It really was. Surprised me. I thought Bugner had a bit of a chance for this fight. And that was the right hand that dropped him right through the middle. And there was no way Joe was going to get up from that.
Talk about...
Hier das offizielle Urteil. Der Ringrichter bringt wegen Überlegenheit ab. Sieger durch technischen K.O. in der 6. Runde nach 2 Minuten und 48 Sekunden. Damit alter und neuer Titelträger aus England, Mr. Scott Welch. Die Siegerehrung nimmt vor der Supervisor Nick Jones aus den USA.
Scott Welch, it looked a great deal easier than we thought it might have been.
I don't know, it still didn't come out I wanted it to, you know. I wanted to use a lot more speed, but he was still fast.
Nicky Piper and I didn't think, in fact, that you lost a round.
No, you know, I just went out there. I knew what I had to do. It took me a couple of rounds to find him, to set him up. He was still awkward. You know, he's a big man, 18. I don't know what he weighed. I think he's about 18 and a half. You know, so basically I just, you know, stuck to the game plan, you know.
We've often had chance to criticise referees in the past for stopping fights slightly too early, but don't you think this one went on a bit too long?
Yeah, I feel it did, you know. It should have been stopped when he went down. But, you know, the referee let it go on, so obviously I had to finish it. I couldn't allow him back in the fight. So I had to get on him straight away again.
So what does it mean in having the name Joe Bugner on the win column of your record?
I told a few porkies, actually, because I was quite a big fan of his, you know. I admire him and that, and obviously I didn't let it get to me, didn't say anything. But afterwards I went up to him and told him, and, you know, I told him I was sorry, but 46 is a little bit too old, you know. So...
But you've done obviously what you said you'd do. What's your next plan?
Well, I'll just wait for Frank to come back, you know. Just wait for him to come back, and then obviously just see what comes along, really. I mean,
and of course Frank Bruno tonight facing Mike Tyson in Las Vegas. Any thoughts on that particular match?
Yeah, I mean, I want to take this chance in. I've got the night off to a good start, so I wish Prince Nazim all the best and hope that he pulls it off as well. I think he will. Frank Bruno, I hope to God that he does it. You know, I really believe he can. He's just got to go out there, meet him fire with fire, and I think he'll be coming back with the belts. And then obviously, you know, it all depends what Frank says, and then who knows, we might have an all-British showdown.
Don't rule it out. Welch is progressing very, very nicely. His 17th win in 18 starts as a professional, and he's gathering supporters all the time. Barry McGuigan, I have to say, is one who picked him out as a potential champion of the future a little while back. Barry's thoughts in just a moment or two. We'll hear from Joe Bugner as well. And just to remind you, live shortly from Glasgow, it will be the ring return of Prince Nassim Hamed.
All right, boys. Cut. Take two. Time out.
Taster ahead of what is going to be an historic night of boxing here on Sky, topped off from Las Vegas by Bruno against Tyson. Hope very much you've enjoyed the opener tonight. We've given you a little example of the growing qualities of Scott Welch, the British heavyweight champion. Time is on his side, sadly not on the side of the loser tonight, Joe Bugner. Here's what Bugner had to say afterwards in Berlin.
Joe, an unfortunate ending for you. Probably the end of your career.
Definitely. No, there's no question about it. I mean, Scott did a bloody good job, and look, I mean, to go out to a champion like him, it was a worthwhile thing to go out with. I mean, I'm sorry that it ended up the way it did, but he hit me in the second round with a bloody good body shot. I think he broke a rib, so from there on I was just going downhill, man. I couldn't breathe. In fact, I can't hardly breathe now. So he's a good fighter. He punches well. If he tightens up a little bit, you know, his defense, I think he'll go places.
Well, we didn't get off to a very good start, did you? I know the first round was just a kind of a feeling out round, and then, as you say, you got hurt in the second.
Yeah, see, what happened was I actually rolled into that beautiful right hook he threw, and he caught me right in the ribs, and I thought, Jesus, you know, I don't think I'll recover from it. And when I went back to sit down, I couldn't breathe. I said, Les, I think I broke the rib or cracked it. Something's happened. And he said, Les, just drop your arms and protect as much as you can. And then he caught me again, I think, in the fourth round or something in the same round. I could hear sorry, I swore. Okay, Joe. And anyway, I hit, and he got me with a bloody good one. And I don't know if you heard me actually go, you know,
I heard it.
Yeah, that was it, because he hit me on the same spot. I thought, good punching. Credit to the boy. Like I said, I'm just sorry I didn't do the job on him.
Three fights in almost 10 years, and that is definitely the end of Joe Bugner.
Trust me, this is it. I mean, there's no question about it. You know, this was it. I mean, I wanted to go out on a high note. Unfortunately, it didn't come off, but at least I had a go, and that's all that matters.
Do you think the knocking brigade will be back on your case, Joe?
Well, they always are. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about boxing. They can't all love you, and they can't all hate you. So I'm going to have the split sort of personalities there. But fortunately, now that I'm finished with boxing, they might just sort of relax a little bit and give me a break.
And any thoughts about Frank Bruno's opportunity in Vegas tonight against Mike Tyson?
I think if Frank does what Lewis Scott did to me today to Tyson and not take him seriously, because I mean, Tyson is an awesome fighter, but I think Frank's got the ammunition, he's got the punching power to do the job, and I think if he does what Scott did, I think he'll take the title off, retain his title, no question about it.
Joe, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye, boxing.
And this time you mean it, don't you? Does he?
Yeah, I think that's yeah. I thought that was a tremendously honest interview from him, and I thought he was he really portrayed himself in a very in the most positive way possible, which he wasn't always guilty of in the past. Scott Welch boxed extremely well. I thought his punching power was quite incredible. He stepped up on top of him, and that finishing combination was quite exceptional. He looked for the spot. He was looking for it all the way through the round. That's the first right hand, and the second one actually makes the target. We don't actually see it perfectly, but it snapped the head round of Bugner and landed right through his guard. And then we have a look at the finish here. This is the combination of the finish. I didn't think Bugner should have been allowed to continue. He didn't really want to continue. But look at this finish from Welch. So accuracy, power, and Welch is really punching with power. And I think also what he said was very important and very good. Bugner, he said if he needs to tighten up again and make a little bit more progress with his defence, his attacking skills are all there. He punches with tremendous power. And I said before, I didn't think he would be bothered by Bugner. And I really think that this guy can fight for a world title in a year's time.
Interesting.
Certainly interesting, and a very credible performance, a very workmanlike performance. Didn't lose his composure, held it together, had a tactical plan, and when he started to hurt Bugner, he realised when things started to unfold, he grasped his opportunity sooner rather than later. However, it was an impressive finish.
Scott Welch has dreams one day to become a part of a major world title fight, as Barry's suggesting. It may not be too far into the future.